Bonsoir.
Good
Et voilà,
evening.
finalement.
Finally,
Petit problème technique
there was a
et
bit of a
maintenant
technical issue.
on est en pleine marche.
Now things seem to be
Bienvenue cette réunion
working.
du Conseil
So welcome
municipal.
to this
Pour certains d'entre
meeting
vous,
of
c'est
City
la troisième
Council.
fois que je le dis,
This is the
mais
third
cela
time for some of you that
ça ne
you're
veut pas dire
hearing
qu'on va tout
me say
refaire
this,
trois
but
fois. Vous
that
nous
doesn't mean I'm
excusez
going to
d'avance.
repeat everything three
Alors, la
times.
ville de Dieppe reconnaît que la terre sur
All right,
laquelle
so the
ses
City of Dieppe
activités
recognizes that the
appartiennent
land on
au
which it
territoire
operates is part of the
ancestral
unceded traditional ancestral
traditionnel
lands
possédé
of
des Mi'kmaq.
the
Et
Mi'kmaq.
pour mes collègues, chers collègues, ayons la
And dear
sérénité
colleagues, may we
d'accepter les
have the
choses que nous ne
serenity to
pouvons
accept the
changer,
things we cannot
le courage
change,
de
the
changer les
courage to
choses que
change
l'on
things
peut,
we can,
et la sagesse de
and the
connaître
wisdom
la
to
différence. Alors,
know the
encore une
difference.
fois, bienvenue à
So
tous.
again, welcome to everyone.
J'appelle la réunion à
I'll
l'ordre.
call this meeting to order.
Et nous avons un quorum de toute
We
évidence.
have quorum.
Et ça nous amène à la déclaration de conflit
So that
d'intérêts
brings us to the
pour les membres du conseil. Est-ce qu'il y a des
item on
est-ce qu'il y a un conflit
conflicts of
d'intérêts
interest.
à
Does anybody have a
déclarer?
conflict of interest to
Sinon,
declare?
on va le noter. Puis sinon, on continue. Puis si oui, on va le noter.
And if
Alors, aucun conflit
so, let's
d'intérêts.
continue. There are no
Alors,
conflicts.
pour l'adoption de l'ordre du jour,
Adoption of the
M.
agenda.
Thibodeau,
Moved by Councillor
appuyé par
Thibodeau,
la conseillère
seconded by
Jeannette sur la
Councillor
question.
Jeannet on the question.
Aucune question. Ceux qui sont en
No
faveur de
questions.
l'adoption,
All those
signifient
in
par un
favor
oui.
signify by saying
Les
aye.
contraires par un non.
Opposed, nay.
Alors, l'ordre du jour est accepté.
The
présenté.
agenda is adopted as presented. Presentations, inquiries, and petitions. We always start with the Kodiak Regional RCMP, and their representative is here today, or this evening rather. I'm just going to open her microphone, that would help, or turn her microphone on. So, good evening. Good evening, worship, your worship counselors. I apologize for not being there last week, but I was able to participate in the Remembrance Day. I had enough of spending time with the mayor. It was a positive experience, but yes. So, all right. So with regard to community policing, we received a Black Cat policing report. It was an analytical report, and I don't know where the complaint had originated from. It was one of the councillors here that had made a complaint about, or had received a complaint about speeding on Pierre Street. So there was a traffic analysis in any case that was done. And there were no reported issues with speeding in that area. The Kodiak, members of the Kodiak Police Force took place in the Dieppe November 11th ceremony. It's always an honor for us to do so, and it allows us to remember the people who made the greatest sacrifice there. Inspector Jonathan White and myself met with veterans in Moncton. We participated in the 21st ceremony of that paid homage to these veterans. So there was a plaque that was presented to Miss Gladys, one of the residents who has, and she's 105 years old. In the seat of a cruiser, there's an event that will take place, and it is, the goal is to collect money and food for a local food bank. On November 6th, we welcomed a number of students, and we were able to bring some kids to work with us. Under the direction of our community police director, we exposed these kids to various activities in the building and throughout the city. So students were able to meet patrollers and to explore our police cars, and they were able to, we had a few activities for them planned. They were able to take fingerprints and we answered a number of their questions, and we had a lot of fun. With regard to the crime reduction unit, a number of files are still under investigation by the unit related to drug possession, trafficking, and property-related offenses. Thanks to our patroller section and 11 recidivists who are responsible for a large number of calls are currently incarcerated. Some of their offenses include theft of automobiles, and most of those 11 offenders will be released in the coming year, but we will be working with our various teams to maintain pressure, to keep pressure on these people so that they don't reoffend. Thanks to our criminal analysts, we were able to establish a direct we were very proud of the work done by our employees during the summer, and of the work that they do every day. I would also like to inform the council of an incident where a young woman from Ontario was brought to Moncton, and she was being sexually trafficked. So we took this situation very seriously. We've been working hard since March with OPP and various police service in Ottawa. We were able to identify a principal suspect that was active in the Moncton area. On October 29th, working with the Human Trafficking Department in Ottawa and various other teams, we were able to execute 3 search warrants in a residence of the Moncton region and another one in a commercial area also in the Moncton area. Currently, the regional Kodiak service does not have a specialized team that deals with human trafficking. And these types of crimes require a lot of work and a lot of travel. But as we've told the council in the past, these types of incidents are taking place in the Kodiak region. The number of reports has increased, and we continue to assign workers to these files. In terms of our the general duty team, this team has dealt with the various types of offenses, including fraud. I would like to also provide another update with regard to a file that required a lot of efforts and time. In June 2023, the Kodiak Regional Service received a report regarding a crime that was taking place, or a crime that took place in the Moncton region. We were able to determine that an individual had used a poisonous substance to assault to assault his victim. There were warrants that were executed. 26-year-old male was arrested. The individual appeared in court and was charged with a number of offenses in relation to the investigation, and he is currently in detention. During the investigation, police were able to identify other victims, and the data indicate that these incidents took place mainly in the Greater Moncton region and Edmundston area between 2010 and 2023. In March 2023, this individual pled guilty to a number of sexual offenses and of administering a deleterious substance. This individual appeared in court and was sentenced to a number of years in court. He's now on the sexual offender registry, and this individual has conditions to not approach children and to go to areas where children are present, such as parks, daycares, and so forth. Because of a publication ban, I can't give you any more details about this individual. We also want to inform all citizens that a sexual assault claim can be filed anytime. If you are a victim of a sexual offense, please call us. We will listen to you. We will take your information down, to take your complaint seriously, and we will act. In terms of patrols, we continue to be busy with a number of calls 24/7. We also continue to make sure that we are constantly patrolling all areas of the city. As the holiday season approaches, I would like to encourage people not to drive under the influence when you're meeting with family and friends. We all have a role to play to make sure that everyone gets home safe. Members of the patrol will be on the roads in the coming weeks to make traffic stops. So have fun, but make good decisions and watch out for one another. I would like to remind also all residents to always keep their doors closed, whether they're at home or not, and to put their objects of value in a locked place. There are various activities happening in the city, and if you stay at a hotel, for example, remove all objects of value from your cars. And that's all for me. All right, well, that's almost a novel that you gave us. Good things, but also, unfortunately, as is often the case, a lot of negative things as well. So thank you for your work. We know it's not an easy job. All right, any questions from councillors for the RCMP? Councillor Godette. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick comment. I appreciate the follow-up that you did with me on Dover Road. I think it worked. I think it turned out well because I didn't receive any other complaints. So thank you for that. Great, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? No? All right, well, let's continue. Thank you very much again for your presentation. Do we have any questions from our vast public in attendance? Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Your Worship, there is point 8 or item 8.2 that we have to do as well on the budget. 8.2, yes, okay. All right. So for the presentation on the budget, Mr. Thériault, please. Your Worship, just before, I just have a bit of context to give to make sure that the information is complete for Council. So thank you for allowing me to speak. So as I was saying last Monday, our proposals for 2025 are in agreement with the priorities of Council and our various master plans. So last week you had an opportunity to ask questions on the items in the budget, and the invitation. So in the last year, a number of residents talked about that they were worried about an increased tax bill. So we took that seriously and we reduced the tax rate. And so rates are lower this year than last year. Now, to be able to reduce the tax rate, we had to revise our financial plan, and that now we were able to help residents while also respecting our obligations as a municipality. So I'll give the floor to our treasurer to talk about our budget. So Mr. Thériault, go ahead, please.
Bonsoir et bienvenue, excusez-moi.
Oh, sorry. Good.
m'indique qu'il est allumé.
I think his mic is on. Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship, councillors, and members of the public. So this is the day that we authorize or that we approve the budget. So my presentation will be quite short. I'm going to go over the budget very quickly. And I'm going to base it on the four resolutions that you have to approve today. So that's what we're going to do. So first of all, the first resolution that is on point 11.1, you're going to be asked to approve the proposed tax rates. So 1.3650 is what we're proposing for 2025. For Greater Lakeburn, it's $0.6445 per $100 of assessment. And for Scoudouc, it's $0.5677 per $100 of assessment. So that's what we'll be asking you to approve. For non-residential rates, the ratio that we're going to be asking you to approve is the ratio is 1.65. So for Dieppe, that gives $2.2523, and then the same exercise applies to Greater Lakeburn and Scoudouc. So the figures there are 1.0634 for Greater Lakeburn and 0.9367 for Scoudouc. So in that, as part of that first resolution, you're also going to have to approve the total amount of the budget. So the total would be, it will be $85.3 million. So you will be also be asked to approve the amount of property taxes, which is $77.3 million. And the other two amounts are the financing grants and other income. This is a summary of the main expenditures of the budget. So $85.3 million is divided by salaries, $26.5 million, external commissions, $16.6 million, cost of water, $2 million, operating capital, and asset management, the asset management program. And we always try to keep that at 25%. So in this case, it's $14.1 million. And then there are other operational expenses, snow clearing, park-related expenses, electricity, heating, and so forth. So $19.7 million. So that's everything that kind of helps the city to keep going. The second resolution at 11.2.2 will deal with the water and sewer operating budget. So you'll be asked to authorize the unit rate and the usage rate. So for this year, we're increasing water to $500 and we're reducing the sewer rate to $448. So the total will be $948. So that rate stays the same as it was last year. For the usage rate, for those who have a meter, so for water, it's $2.0833, and for sewer, it's $1.8667. And there's also the Transaqua rate that I didn't mention. It's $210 per unit, and it's included in the sewer unit rate. Here we see the sources of revenue. So the water and sewer. So 43% for water and 39% for the sewer. And then there's a general operating fund and other revenues. So for a total of $16 million. And here are, again, like I showed you before, these are the expenditures. So salaries, $4.24 million. Purchase of water, $2.08 million. Water, wastewater treatment, $2.87 million. And to arrive at a total of $16.02 million. The third resolution that you'll be asked to vote on, 11.2.3, is the list and it's going to be a long list, so and you'll see that. But it's the list of capital budgets for a total of $41.5 million, and water and sewer capital budget is $10.7 million for next year. So we're talking about the operational capital, $10.3 million, gasoline tax, $2.1 million, fixed asset reserves, $10.9 million, other contributions, and here we're talking about different levels of government, federal, provincial, so $18.5 million, and loan applications of $10.4 million, so that for a total of $52.2 million. And speaking of loan applications, that's the fourth resolution that you'll have to approve tonight, and it's and this will be my last slide on this topic as well. So we're asking for $7.742 million and $2.69 million for water and sewer. So there are 7 main projects that we're proposing borrowing for. So grading and paving of Champlain Street for $1.25 million for general, and $580,000 for water and sewer. The river trail, $796,000. Construction of Trottier Alley, or Lane rather, $2.8 million. And then renovation of the Arthur G. Leblanc Center, $3 million. And then for water and sewer, reconstruction of Sainte-Thérèse Street, water mains, water main replacement, $675,000, and the relining of the sanitary or the sewer, so $1 million for a total of $10.435 million. And then to end my presentation, and this is an overview of what we're planning for the next 5 years. So when we asked to borrow money, this is what the province asked us to do. They asked us to give their forecast for next 5 years, and that's why I'm presenting them here. So in terms of the tax base, we're estimating that the tax base will reduce, or will decrease over the next 5 years, and the property tax increase will decrease as well. So 6.5 cents next year, 6 cents at 2027, right up until 1 cent, and that depends on what takes place. The property budget, so the first 3 years are quite high, and then it goes down to around $20 million or $20 for the last 2 years. And for borrowing, our amounts will be fairly high compared to what we had in the past, so $7 to $15 million, and then $2.4 million and $7.8 million for the last 2 years. The debt to equity ratio will remain roughly the same, so 7% this year, and it'll go up to 8.8 in 2028, and then it'll reduce slightly in 2029. And in the last, for water and sewage, there will be we're predicting a slight increase in the coming year. So these are increases below 2%. Capital projects for the next 3 years. The big project is the Dieppe Boulevard extension. That's going to take up room for the next 3 years, and then there'll be a decrease in the last 2 years. And then borrowing will remain under $5 million. And then for the debt to equity ratio, 15.4%, and then it'll rise to 18.7% in 2029. So, Your Worship, that is my presentation. If you have any questions, I can take them now.
Thank you. Any questions from council? We've been working on it for a few weeks already. We worked on it with a lot of help, of course, from our people on the finance side, the big gurus. It would seem that everybody is very happy. Well, perhaps not happy, but we're certainly living within our means, and we're keeping an eye out on the future, as always. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We now move on to item 9.1. Any questions from the public amongst all the people here this evening? No questions from the vast public in attendance this evening? So let's continue on. The adoption of the minutes of the last meeting. Who would like to move it? Councillor Jeannin, seconded by Councillor Godette on the question. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes are adopted as presented. 10.1. No, we're 11. Motions, memorandums, and nominations. 11.1 with fire services. Monsieur Melançon. 11.1, yes, indeed. 11.1. Yes, so the fire services, we replaced a bumper. So when we have an asset here in the municipality, we have to come back to council to identify it as a surplus item before we make it available for sale. So this evening, this is what we're asking for, and see if we find a buyer for this article. And this is for your approval. And this is under the municipal policies. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Lantaigne. Thank you, Your Worship. That council determined the pumper number 21 Spartan Gladiator model as a surplus item and authorized the fire department to proceed with the sale of said vehicle. And I so move it. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Lantaigne, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. If none, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as adopted, as presented. 11.1.2, signing authority. Mr. Melançon, you'll remember that we had some mutual aid agreements with our neighboring municipalities in the past. This mutual aid has become broader. And so now, as following discussions with the fire chiefs in the whole Southeast and Kent counties, we are proposing a new mutual aid agreement in case of emergency with the communities in Kent County and the Southeast. Two of the entities of the regional commission, Region 7 and Region 6 or 8, I think. So we recommend this signature. We do a lot of mutual aid, and we also maximize the use of our equipment. And it's unfortunate if there are these events, but it allows good training for all of the fire services. So if you agree with the signing of this new mutual aid agreement, following this, we will ask you to repeal the previous agreements so that it doesn't take precedence over the agreement that you are voting on this evening. So we're going to vote on this new agreement and repeal the ones that were in place earlier. Thank you. Who would like to read this? Councillor Brideau. That council authorized the municipal signing officers to sign the mutual aid agreement entitled Emergency Mutual Aid Agreement, and that council repeal the following three agreements. Mutual aid agreement between Dieppe, Shediac, Memramcook, Cap-Pelé, and Beaubassin Est Rural Community, 2017. And the Entente de Services de Protection contre l'Incendie between Dieppe, the local service district of the civil parish of Moncton, and the Greater Lakeburn Taxing Authority, 203. as well as the emergency mutual aid agreement between Dieppe, Moncton, and Riverview 2020. And I so move it, Your Worship. And on the question, it's been moved and seconded on the question. Councillor Lantaigne. Sorry, Councillor Le Boutier. Thank you, Your Worship. Of course, I'm not going to vote against this, but I'd like to be able to describe the highlights, the highlights of the agreement for our citizens, just to reassure them if our fire fighters have to go outside of the region. What would be the impact here in Dieppe if something were to happen? Mr. Cormier, yes, just to clarify, this is for everything that deals with emergency measures. So if our firefighters have to go outside the municipality, we can always call upon our other partners that are included in the agreement. So we're not talking about fire services only, but everything such as big storms, emergency measures, civil safety, for example. So it's just an extension of the agreement that we had with Moncton and Riverview to include all of the resources that are available here, but elsewhere. So there won't be any impact for our citizens. We can always say no if we get a request from another municipality as well. So of course, we look at our municipality first before we look outside. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. Now, finances. We're going to spend money. Now, first of all, the general operating budget for 2025. Mr. Melançon. Well, Mr. Thériault, the treasurer, presented the summary of the 4 resolutions. They'll be read and become very obvious. Thank you. Who has the voice and who feels they have a voice this evening? Councillor Boutier. Well, I will start. That Council resolved that the sum of 83,313,000 beyond the local government's total budget, that the sum of $77,256,504 be the warrant of the local government for the ensuing year, and that their non-residential ratio as well as the heavy industrial ratio be 1.65, and that the residential tax rate be 1.3650 for Dieppe, 0.6445 for Greater Leyburn LSD, and 0.5677 for Scoudouc LSD. That Council order and direct the levying of by the Minister of Local Government of said amount on real property liable to taxation under the Assessment Act within the local government of Dieppe. Moved by Councillor Lantaigne, seconded by on the question. So on the question, no questions. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. It's adopted as presented. Next item, similar item, Mr. Melançon. If Councillor Le Boutier would like to read the second resolution, it's on the operating fund budget for wastewater and wastewater.
Ça va? Oui, certainement. 11.22.
11.2.2. So that Council accept, pursuant to subsection 117.4 of the Local Governments Act that the total water and wastewater disposal operating budget for the coming year will include revenues of $16,015,000 and expenditures of revenues of $16,015,000 and expenditures of $16,015,000. No, it is 16,000, 15,000 in revenues and expenditures of $16,015,000 that, pursuant to the bylaw respecting water and sewage systems, the user charge per unit for the year 2025 be set as follows: $500 water utility and $448 wastewater disposal service. That the metered water rate for the year 2025 be set at $2.0833 per cubic meter. That the user charge for wastewater disposal service for metered customers for the year 2025 be equal to a percentage of the amount of the water rate, this percentage being determined by dividing the current wastewater disposal service rate by the current water utility rate. This calculation provides us with a user charge for the wastewater disposal service of $1.8667 per cubic meter for the year 2025, and I so move it, Your Worship. It's been moved by Councillor Leboutier, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question? If none, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. It's carried. And which brings us to 11.2.3. You still have a voice? No, I do not. Okay, let's give her a little break and we'll send this one to Councillor Lantaigne. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council authorized the following projects under the 2025 Capital Projects Program. General capital budget, $41,500,000. 1, land purchase. A, future trails. B, downtown. C, engineering projects. 2, Dieppe Boulevard extension. 3, trail Champlain Street section from Midland Drive to Dawson Avenue. 4, shoreline trail. 5, construction Trotters Court. 6, Emmanuel Street extension. 7, and renovations Arthur G. Leblanc Center. 8, asphalt preservation program, microsurfacing various reeds. B, reconstruction Gauvin Road from College Street to Marché Street. C, mill and pave Champlain Street from Aviation Avenue to Lorette Street. D, reconstruction Sainte-Thérèse Street from Paul Street to Acadie Avenue. 8, E, reconstruction Cobb Street. F, improvements Champlain Street, Acadie Avenue intersection. G, water main replacement Grand Pré Notre-Dame, La Tour, and Thibodaux Streets. H, Leblanc Road, civic numbers 442 to 586. I, asphalting Babin Street. 9, asphalt management program. 10, plans and specs 2026. 11, purchase new buses. 12, purchase new bus shelters. 13, purchase fare boxes. 14, traffic calming various streets. 15, additional traffic equipment, signs, crosswalks, pedestrian traffic signals. 16, purchase of new equipment. A, hoist. B, industrial shelving. C, DEF tank. E, D, oil tank. Water and wastewater disposal capital budget, $10,700,000. 1, mill and pave Champagne Street from Aviation Street to Lorette Street. 2, Gauvin Street from College Street to Marché Street. 3, Dieppe Boulevard extension. 4, Trotters Court construction. 5, reconstruction Sainte-Thérèse Street from Paul Street to Acadie Avenue. 6, water main replacement Cobb Street. 7, water main replacement Grand Pré Notre-Dame, La Tour, et Thibodaux Street. 8, relining sanitary sewer Chartersville March. 9, asset management program. 10, bulk water station, Aviation Avenue. 11, pump replacement Airport pumping station. 12, sewer main Dover Road. And 13, plans and specs 2026 projects. And I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Lantaigne, who is going to spend a lot of money this year. Yes, and I'm happy to do so. And seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. On the question? If none, all of those in the will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. And it's always a great list for the
2.4, programme
So-
des travaux d'immobilisation.
11.2.4 Capital Works loan request. Who would like to read it? Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council authorized an application to borrow the sum of $10,439,000 be submitted to the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board in order to finance the following projects. General capital budget, A, transportation related services, mill and pave, Champlain Street from Aviation Avenue to Lorette Street, $1,125,000. Shoreline Trail, $796,000. Construction Trotters Court, $2,821,000. B, Recreational and Cultural Services, renovations, Arthur G. Leblanc Center, $3 million. A water and wastewater disposal capital budget. C, Environmental Hygiene Services, mill and pave, Champlain Street from Aviation Avenue to Lorette Street, $518,000. Reconstruction Sainte-Thérèse Street from Paul Street to Acadie Avenue, $500,000. Water main replacement, Grandpré, Notre-Dame, Latour, and Thibodaux Streets, $675,000. And the relining of the sanitary sewer, Chartersville March, $1 million. At an interest rate to be determined by the board for a maximum period of 15 years for the general capital budget and for a maximum of 20 years for the water and wastewater disposal capital budget. That council authorized the city of Dieppe to borrow on an interim basement an amount not to exceed $10,435,000 at the prime lending rate until long-term financing is arranged. And I so move it. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Le Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. Those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried. Which brings us to 12.1, the procedural bylaw A-4 2024-1 for first reading by title only. Well, we received a notice of motion on September 23rd by Councillor Godbout. Yes, so in your package, we summarized what was in place currently, what is in place, and the reason for the notice of motion presented by Councillor Godbout, sorry. And then we explained the paragraph that was moved to be added to the procedural bylaw. And it's for you have the possibility of asking questions. Councillor Godbout can explain her comments after her notice of motion. And we worked together to prepare what is being proposed this evening. It took a little bit of time, but I think we had to do our analysis and our research properly to make sure that we had the proper bylaw proposed this evening. So it'll be section 10-3 of the procedural bylaw. If Councillor Godbout wants to speak, if not, we can answer questions from council. Councillor Godbout, thank you. The notice of motion was presented for the reasons that you just mentioned. When you look at the way the public participates in our meetings, if there were an objection or there's really nothing in the procedural bylaw that explained why. So I just wanted to add something here that would allow a councillor to explain, to be able to explain this, and I wanted to include it in the procedural bylaw. I wanted the councillors to be able to point to something in the procedural bylaw to explain the procedure. And we worked very well with the CAO. I really appreciated the collaboration with the CAO, but we are also limited to this amendment. We couldn't go any further because we didn't have the resources in place, so we didn't have a deputy clerk, and we wanted to read. Perhaps we could add something in the procedure after we receive letters, making these letters available with a summary, for example, to allow a longer time for oral discussions, rather to just regroup all of the ideas that were very similar to avoid repetition. And another thing that deserved being mentioned was, well, this isn't the same question. For me, for a question asked at one stage of a process should be able to be asked again at another stage, because the answer can change in time, or maybe if it doesn't change with time, that can provide new information in itself. So I want to make sure that if I hear this once again, I could point to the procedural bylaw to say, no, I think we should allow more room for this, to just make sure we allow room for the public presentations, even if it's big files and even if it takes a long time. Yes, and on the list that we wanted to look at a little closer, it's on our desk. And so when we have somebody in place, we will look at that, at everything about reading, letters of support, letters of objection. We've already started doing research in other municipalities. There's a difference of different practice used in different areas of the province, but we're going to see what can best align with our way of doing things. Thank you. Would anybody else like to? Councillor Jeannet. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Godbout. I'd like some clarification, however, to better understand the value added in the way it was written here. For example, if I read the original text and the notice of motion, it seems to me that it makes the text heavier, and there's a redundancy here of things that are already there. If you allow me, I'll find the section where it says, for example, should indicate clearly that the limit is just to allow better efficiency of the meeting. It seems to me that that section is already there in another part. Or at the end, it says it's not a complaint towards the staff. If there's a complaint about staff, it should be presented in writing. The chair must consider council's will to allow the citizens' voice, but it already says that higher, that the council can ask for approval from the chair. I don't know, just clarify a little more, a little better. So the notice of motion is for the public. So as council, you have the power or you have the right to ask question, but this is for the questions from the public. Okay, I see that. But it says during, when the floor, when member of the public has the floor, that the members of council can ask for it. Well, it just specifies it. It's just specific for this section. Well, it doesn't just make the text heavier. No. Any further questions or comments? So we have read it by title only for first reading. No, we haven't read it. We need somebody to read it, to propose it by title only. And seeing as it belongs to you in a sense, perhaps you would like to read it? So bylaw A-4 2024-1, procedural bylaw of the Municipal Council of the City of Dieppe, and moved by title only. Thank you. It's been moved by title only. All those in favor? Oh, we need somebody to second. A seconder, yes. Thank you, Councillor Lantaigne. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed? If not, so for second reading now, okay, bylaw A-4 2024-1, procedural bylaw of the Municipal Council of the City of Dieppe. And I so move it in second reading. Thank you. Once again, it's moved by title only by Councillor Godbout, seconded by Councillor Lantaigne. And on the question, if there are no questions, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. And it is adopted. Adopted. Bylaw C1 2024 on entitled a procedural. No, I'm sorry. It's procedural bylaw A-4 is carried in second reading. And in a future, we will move on to third and fourth reading. Which brings us to C-1 2024 on traffic and parking.
Alors ici, on apporte une modification à une section de la rue du Ruisseau qui
So here we're making a change, and it is item 61 that's in the package. So it is to make that change official. So we're asking for your approval tonight. All right, who would like to read are we reading the whole thing? No, sorry. First reading by title only. Councillor, go ahead. So bylaw C-1 2024-2, a bylaw relating to traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. I so move in first reading by title only. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy on the question. Seeing no questions, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution passes in first reading. Second reading now by title only. Again, Councillor Thibodeau. Bylaw C-1 2024-2, a bylaw relating to traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. I so move in second reading by title only. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau and seconded by, I presume, Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Second reading by title only. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Right, it passes in second reading, and we'll be talking about third reading in the near future. Notice of motions. Your Worship, this is a notice of motion for a policy that will come up at the meeting in December. Who would like to read it? Councillor Gaudette, please. Thank you, Your Worship. I give notice that policy Z6 2024 entitled Fees, Installation of Water and Sewer Service Laterals will be introduced at a future meeting of council for adoption. Thank you. Moved. It's just a notice of motion, so we don't have to approve it. Oh, that's a recent change. I always want to talk more about it, but All right, we'll be talking about this the next meeting. It'll come back. All right, that brings us to our favorite item for many of us, the inquiries and announcements by members of council, starting with Councillor Lantin, who's in full voice tonight. Councillor Lantin, go ahead. Thank you, Your Worship. Just one point for me. There was an announcement made last week about expansion Dieppe. I would like to invite Mr. Godbout, if it's possible. I'd like to learn a little bit more about the details of that agreement, what the role of that agency will be, the role that the partnership was established with, the agency that the partnership was established with. All right. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just want to better understand. Well, thank you for the invitation. There was a lot of positive there's been a lot of positive comments, but I'm happy to talk to you about it tonight. So first of all, I'd just like to say that we're very spoiled. The work that the municipality has done in recent decades to establish itself as a green city with trails and sustainable development and conservation of nature. That's one of the reasons that we were chosen by this group. We're the first location in Atlantic Canada where they're wanting to conduct projects with. They are recognized as a pioneer in sustainable real estate. So, for example, in a neighboring province, they opened the largest green roofed structure in North America. So they're specialized in industrial and some mixed commercial buildings. But so the project, so they'll be involved mainly in industrial projects here. So the agreement that was established between both parties is to give them access so that they can promote our land to attract clients. So basically, it's as if they were asking us permission to say, you know, we'd like to do business in Dieppe. We'd like to establish a protocol for future agreements so that when there is a project, there is no monetary transaction in this arrangement. It's just it's a protocol to say to explain how we're going to work. So, and it's exactly the same framework that we have with other clients. It's the same terms, the same prices, the same conditions. So they received a template of our, so that when they have a project, they can come to us and talk to about it. Okay, so they're not going to necessarily do any construction here. Did they say that they said they were going to invest $120 million? Well, if they were able to find projects to fill all the land that we have for offer, it'll be worth $120 million. And that there's a 5-year horizon. So if things go well and both parties want to renew after, they'll have access to other land in our industrial park. So, but they play in a league that we can't access, not with the means that we have. So they're able to go and get bigger projects, and as the first site in Atlantic Canada, so they'll be considering us before they consider anything else in Atlantic Canada. So this is a natural alignment with the values that the city has. It was a natural choice for them to do business with us. And for us, this is a business that we've been familiar with for a number of years, but I know a number of people around the table as well through Quebec Economic Development Organization. So these are people that I've known for quite a while. Does that answer your question? Okay, yes. Yeah, it clarifies things for me. Thank you. Pleasure. Councillor Godbout. Thank you. Just two things, two announcements. One, I wanted to share with the public that the police authority, and I'd mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but they've hired Amanda McNeil, a Dieppe resident. She will be the new executive director, or the new employee that will be hired by the CRPA. And they have some big challenges to overcome in the coming years to meet the objectives that have been set for them. So I think, we've been asking for somebody to be hired for a number of years, and now that we have one, it's good. So our meeting was postponed, so I haven't met her yet, but I just wanted to share that we have a Dieppe resident who was hired in this position, so I'm happy about that. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the staff for the work that they did on preparing the budget. And the fact that we can decrease our tax rate is important. So people will have to tighten their belts in the coming year, and we have to really be listening to people. And I think that we've shown that. So congratulations. And we are the face of that, but you've done most of the work. So I want to thank you for that. So hats off to you. Thank you. Councillor Roy. Sorry. Thank you, Louis, for clarifying things. So I had to answer a few questions. I had to field a few questions, and I said I gave them the correct information. So thank you for specifying that, or for clarifying that rather. And I would also like to add that Expansion Dieppe is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Now, I wasn't in attendance because of my work, but I wanted to congratulate Yvon Lapierre, who received an award of distinction, someone who's dedicated to the economic development of our wonderful municipality. So thank you and congratulations. And we should mention too that the former mayor, Malenfant was there, Richard and René Bourque as well, also received awards. So thank you and congratulations. Thank you. Yes, let's give them a hand. That's all for me. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. So, well, José just mentioned one of the points that I was going to say. So last week, I went to the opening of the legislature, and the speech from the throne covered the items that were mentioned in the election platform of the Liberal Party. And I was a bit surprised that not much was said about taxation and in municipalities, but it was mentioned, but it was just said that this was going to be done, but there was no timeline or anything. So, but that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Councillor Brideau, please. Thank you, Your Worship. I just have one thing that I want to remind all the residents, all residents. So we're November. The date is November 25th, and in a month, or in next week, we start the Christmas month. So if there is snow on the streets, just a reminder not to leave your car in the street because you could lose it. So just a reminder, December 1st, and that's all for me. Councillor Jeannet, please. Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing tonight. Councillor Leboutier, same for me. I have nothing to say tonight. Councillor Godette. Well, what I had to say has already been said, so I just wanted to say congratulations to Expansion Dieppe and the team. Thank Thank you. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to the large numbers of people that showed up tonight.